evening. This is Hannah Klein. Welcome to my podcast, Hannah Klein's Time. Before starting my podcast, I would like to ask you to become a paid subscriber of my Substack to support my work, including my podcast, and also make kind donations through my homepage. Today, this is something I recorded with Nirvana yesterday, but we discussed a lot. We discussed al-Bashar, Assad, who fled to Russia. He was an Alawite, but anyway, yes, we discussed a lot about, we discussed a lot on Jolani, its cruel nature, and not just that, but it's very, very deliberate, systematic, and extremely cruel. Can you imagine what it is? If you look at my description on my Substack, you will understand what it is about. October 7th. But anyway, this is nothing by coincidence. It has a meaning, and it is a crisis for the Middle East. And I do not understand the world media talking about the escalation of something. But anyway, please listen to our conversation, and this will have Hebrew and Arabic subtitle available. And also, I would like to add Hebrew and Arabic subtitle in Dr. Anant Welf's episode, which we discussed. Which we had much earlier, so that people will listen to what we discussed. This is something relevant to Japan, and also, what I discussed with Dr. Anant Welf has a lot to do with Japan, Zionism, and also she was talking about Nazism in the Middle East. That was eye-opening. Also, that was the moment I felt unimaginable fury over how Nazism is unpunished. And you have to listen to her episode. Please listen. But anyway, please listen to my conversation with Nirvana. Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
What time is it now?
Now it's 17:27 p.m. in France. And by you?
17:27. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's like 2:12:30. So it's not so late for
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, people in the East Coast are up around this time, for the podcast interviews. So I often am up, and do the recording. So I don't have
Yeah.
problems with it. So yeah, so thank you very much for, coming to my podcast. And
Thank you.
I really appreciate, despite the difficulties, I really appreciate you for trying to describe what is happening, because this is very difficult for people, you know.
I appreciate your efforts also with us as the Druze and all what you do for us. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I will be ready always to talk about the truth of what's happening right now in Sweden. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I really would like to know what is happening in Sweden, really, and
Mm,
what is happening to the Druze people,
mm,
on the daily basis or timely basis, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because, you know, after 10 days, as Zaid
Mm.
said, that it's very difficult. The internet is, you know,
Mm.
unstable, and for other reasons, he cannot, you know, talk on my podcast. And of
Yeah.
course, I mean, it's very difficult for him. You know, he's in Soweto right now. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, three of his
So,
friends were killed in front of the hospital, he said. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So, as you know, that in Sweden was surrounded from multiple directions by government forces and militias. Electricity, water, internet, and food were deliberately cut off,
Mm,
and mass executions of men, women, children, elderly, and even foreign nationals. You know, so and we have also sexual violence, like more than 80 women and girls remain missing.
mm,
And we have a humiliation, as you saw on the videos, like elderly Druze men forced to mimic animals
yeah.
and had their sacred mustaches shaved. And hospitals attacked, doctors executed, like Dr. Fatin Hilal, Dr. Talat Amer from Sweden, along with wounded patients. And we have religious and cultural site destroyed, like the church. They burned the church, they burned the books of the Rus, and Turkish drones used to bomb civilian areas. And we have another big problem right now, that cancer patients can't get the treatment. They went to Damascus, but they didn't accept that. They said you are the Rus, so we don't want to treat you. You see? So sectarian issue in all cases, and this is the main problem for us. We really need a solution. You see?
See, you know, July 14th, you know, it's a very, very major siege that started, but
Mm,
usually there is some kind of sign. Like, you know,
mm,
when you look at like the Holocaust, for example, there is anti-Semitism, you know, starting, you know, 10 days before, 10 years
mm,
before, you know,
mm,
all these things. And so, you know, I am very, you know, interested in, well, in, you know, what was happening, you know, as a sign, you know, I still wonder what was a real sign of this, Al-Jalani saying himself, okay, let's do this, all this, you know. But
it's also, yeah.
I think it was very deliberate, and I
Mm,
think
mm,
it was very well organized. I
mm,
think he
mm,
organized it very well. I do not believe that he did not come up with this siege out of nowhere. I think he deliberately was looking for the timing. So
mm,
I believe that he was ready for it already.
mm,
So I
mm,
think he did
mm,
it.
mm,
So, so, um, you know, this collapse of, you know, Bashar Assad's government, you know, I was surprised. Not
mm,
surprised, but, you know, at the same time surprised
mm,
because of, uh, you know, what was going on, you know, with Russia,
mm,
because Russia was losing, influence in the Middle East, like, you know, because of the lack of manpower, weapons in Ukraine. So,
mm,
you know, they needed to, deploy all these forces in the Middle East, and so, but, you know, I did not expect Bashar Assad to collapse that easily.
mm, mm.
I was at some point pleased, but, you know, it is a very, very, you know, mixed feelings of what happened. And what did you expect what did you expect from, you know, Bashar Assad's collapse? And what did you think of him, really?
What did I think about Bashar al-Assad? Of course, he is a criminal.
Yeah, he's a criminal, of course.
Yeah, of course, because also he killed so many people because they were against him. Like in Idlib, he bombed Idlib and he bombed the south of Syrian, like Dir'a. They were against him. He bombed so many regions because they were against him, and they did many manifestations.
Mm.
Yeah. So of course he's a criminal, and of course we were really so happy because he left Syria. But in meantime, when someone like Ahmad al-Shara comes to the Syrian government,
Mm.
this could be damage for us. Why? Because as we understand after what happened in Sueda or in Sahnaya, Al-Shafit, Sahnaya, and Jaramana, or even in the coast in Latakia, we can understand that he is a criminal. Okay, why did you want to let Bashar al-Assad leave the government, but you have the same mentality? You want to kill people, and actually he is worse than Bashar al-Assad.
Yeah.
Because he killed the Druze or the minorities because we are different, because we have another mentalities. So here's the problem. So what is the benefit of having someone like Ahmed al-Shara? So we are repeating the same problem. We are like from 50 years until now, the same problem, you see? And this could be really catastrophic. That's why we called for international protection, because us as Druze, as minorities, we can't be with someone like Ahmed al-Shara in
Mm.
the same government. It's impossible. And everyone who knows the truth and who knows really what's happening in Sweden or any other coast or any other region like the coast or any other or even with Kurd people can
Mm.
understand what I'm saying, really.
Mm.
So that's why we need international protection as much as possible. We really need it.
I
You
mean,
see?
so far, majorly Israel was one of the forces that has protected the region, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. When they did the manifestation against Bashar al-Assad, yeah, they said, and we have all the videos, we documented all the videos. They said we need protection international protection. They said it. So yeah, of course we need it right now. Of course I say it and we need it. If not, it could be catastrophic for us.
Yeah, I mean, see, like for those who do not own its own defense forces, I think
Mm,
that includes Japan, to be honest. It's the
yeah,
forces in Japan, you know,
yeah.
it's catastrophic. Well,
Mm,
now Japan has China. I mean, it's
mm,
not somebody else's problem, but if we
mm,
have a real huge problem, like, you know, it's hard to define what al-Jolani is. Now he's a
mm.
government,
Yeah, you see, yeah,
know,
yeah,
he
yeah.
used to be a terrorist, for God.
Exactly, exactly.
And I mean, it's not interesting, but when I was looking at Ukraine, what, I believe that, they would do was to burn the historical books and culture and everything, and they were doing that. And
Yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah.
see what is, when people tend, get get to learn about what is happening in Ukraine more, but in Sueda, the Druze books are burned down by
Mm,
al-Jolani, and
mm,
the cultural mosques, they have been destroyed, you know
mm,
all these happenings, the same things happening. And
mm.
actually, Hamas tried to do that to Israel, on October 7th. And
Yeah,
I mean, it's a real media bias in really, really bad way that, only certain areas of the part of the world, that kind of thing is happening. I mean,
mm,
but I it's really, really unfortunate that al-Jolani took the power, but
Mm.
I wonder what the options would be. Like, what would be the options for you? I mean, probably he's not the best person for sure, you know,
Yeah, of course.
for
He's
the,
the worst person. Yeah. Came
but
to the government. Yeah.
but I guess it's partly because of the the minority majority balance
Mm-hmm.
you that is that he could take over the government because Christians, Druze, Kurds are definitely
Minorities.
minorities, you know
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
in Syria, and that
Mm.
is one of the reasons those people do not hold forces. I mean, Kurds,
Mm.
but the Druze people do not hold the major forces like.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm sure if Bashar al-Assad is Muslim, they will not do a manifestation against him. They will not, you see? He will keep in the government. He will stay in the government if Bashar al-Assad is Muslim.
um
So we understand their problem right now. They did this with Bashar al-Assad because he is Alawite, because he is not Muslim. This is what we can understand because Ahmad al-Sharia is not better than Bashar al-Assad. This is what I want to say. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it's very complicated, but it's not always a sectarian issue, and it
Mm,
is obviously a sectarian issue this time.
mm, mm, mm.
And so 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 far, in August, what
Yeah.
what are the major problems that are happening in maybe to the Druze people? Because I'm actually inviting the Druze in Israel, who are
Yeah.
getting a lot of protections from Israel.
Mm, mm,
They have the rights, civil rights, and they serve in IDF,
mm,
and
mm.
so they can defend themselves, and also Israel does defend the Druze people.
Exactly. Yeah. Of course.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Mm,
of course that, I strongly believe that the Druze people in Israel are furious at this
mm.
situation right now.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. Exactly.
So,
And of course, what I want to say that thanks for Israel. Without Israel, all the rules would die, because in some days, militias affiliated to Ahmad Shara or the Syrian government did this in some days. So how it would be until now? They would kill all the Druze. So without Israel, everything could be really catastrophic. So what I want to say that thanks for Israel. Thanks for the Druze also in Israel, because they did really many good things with us. And we would not never forget this. Never.
see, I was looking at, the Jewish scholars getting humiliated by now,
Mm, mm,
you know, and
yeah.
the mustache, humiliated,
Yeah.
this the Druze man humiliated by
Mm,
HDS or the government forces.
mm,
Um, I a lot of people think that there are a lot of people in Israel, but
mm.
Jewish people are the minorities. The
Yeah.
minorities.
Yeah.
And they are still minorities in the world.
Mm, mm,
And so, I mean, this is a part of my opinion, but Jewish people were minorities in Europe. you know, and
Yeah.
they have faced persecution throughout history. We cannot forget about this. There were persecution in Spain and many
Mm,
parts of Europe. And they had to flee around in the end, and the Holocaust happened. That was
mm,
the worst thing that had ever happened to them. But you know, throughout history, they are a minority. So, in my sense, when I heard Suzanne's words about, being minority, I mean, it's an important word that we cannot forget. I really learned because, we cannot forget about the minority. I avoided using the term minority to honor people's equality rights, because, just because, people belong to the minority, it does not mean that people cannot enjoy their rights, right?
mm.
That was
Exactly.
something that I was really feeling. But when I was listening to the story in the Middle East, that is really something else. And that made me think of what the minority means, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Unfortunately.
still, Jewish population is a minority in the Middle East. And I think
Mm,
that I really believe that, they are doing good for the Druze,
mm,
and the
mm,
Kurds,
mm,
of course. But, at the same time, I believe that they do understand the mentality of, I think, the minorities,
mm,
we
mm,
really think of the people, the weak people, people who defenseless people, because once they were defenseless, in a sense.
mm.
I don't know if this is an appropriate word to say, but I really believe that the Jewish Israelis understand Syrian people, like,
Mm,
at a very different level from, I think, the Japanese or other parts of the world, because we do not face, or we do not face this kind of crisis, as
mm, mm.
a lot of people think that 98% of the people are Japanese, and
Yeah.
we are not aware if we are in crisis or not. But, if we are in the outside of Japan, we're not sure.
Mm,
And I mean, if it's like, I can say this because my grandparents lived outside Japan for a very long time. So, I mean, big majority is not always the case, really, as you say. So, this is a very, very, and it can be a very difficult situation for many people. And,
yeah.
so you told me about the hospitals, and you told me, and I would like to get back to the universities, but,
Mm,
what about, there has been, battles, right? Between HCS probably, and
mm.
the government forces, and the Druze people,
Yeah.
even now.
Yeah. Even now. Yeah. And even now, they didn't stop bombing Asweda until now. Until now, they keep bombing Asweda, like many regions in Asweda and in the villages, you see. Also, the militias affiliated to Ahmed al-Shara. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Are the militias Muslims? I mean,
Yeah.
in major,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because
Extremist, what I want to say.
um,
Extremist. Yeah.
but I wonder why they do not belong to the government, though. Like, why do they stay militias, and
Mm.
they don't belong to the government, fully.
They belong to the government. They
Ah,
do. Yeah, yeah, they belong to the government.
they,
Like
they act
all
like
these
part of,
militias belong to Ahmed al-Shara.
okay.
with Bedouins, with Al-Qaeda, all of them are belong to Ahmad al-Shara, to the Syrian government.
Um, okay.
Yeah.
So, so, so you know, you there 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 is like intelligence, around, the area, searching for who to hunt down. But regarding the women and children, they rape children really. And
And women too.
yeah, women.
Mm,
And I, you know, um, so there are at least 80 women who
exactly.
who are uh confirmed to have faced sexual violence.
Exactly.
Um, so there are more than that for sure.
Yeah, of course, of course. And they documented all their names, and they are trying right now to treat them like from their mental health, because such as this difficult situation, it's truly catastrophic. So yeah, they documented all their names, and it keeps secret. Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
yeah,
it's very, like, in case of like, like, for example, strong government like Israel, they can go forward and say like you commit this, crime, and to
yeah,
against Hamas, but the government is committing these rapes and all the
exactly.
killings. I mean, it's very hard for the Druze people now to basically, well, you know, well, Al-Jalani would say, well, they are confirming themselves, right? And I'm not confirming, it.
Yeah, yeah,
So, so, um, so they see, I was, I was told during the first 12 days, um,
mm,
there were people, the Druze, who welcomed the government, forces, and they were massacred, I hear.
mm. Yeah, you mean the Druze supported or welcomed the Syrian government, some
Yeah,
of them. Yeah,
yeah.
it's true. Yeah, yeah, we can't deny this. Yeah, yeah.
And,
And these people, I want to say that they don't representative the Druze. They
why?
are criminals such as the Syrian government. You
Oh,
see?
okay. So they
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah.
operating for the government.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They worked against us actually. And they helped the Syrian government to enter Asweda and to do all of these criminals with us as the Rus.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
oh, I see. Uh,
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
yeah, I see. Well, when you mentioned bombing, right?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
by the drones or the
yeah. With the drones, with snipers, also. Yeah,
sniper?
with
Okay.
everything they have. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
So when, well, the shocking incident that I heard was that, Zaid took three of his friends, wounded friends, to the hospital, and
Mm,
there were tanks.
mm,
And, it's impossible that, those who were not prepared would take
mm.
tanks to the hospital and
Yeah,
destroy them, so that, the patients could not be treated.
Exactly, yeah.
And, you know, those medical workers were also
Mm,
killed, right?
mm, yeah.
Are,
Hospitals overwhelmed and shut on supplies also.
yeah,
And bodies, as I said, still lie in the streets and even in the hospitals.
yeah.
Yeah, before, yeah.
So,
And the hospitals missing all the equipments right now.
so they need medical equipment, really.
Of course, yeah, of course, yeah, of course.
Um, see, like, so, well, after this, bombing the hospitals, destroying the medical facilities, they also mutilated the bodies.
Yeah,
Oh,
and we have all the videos documented for this. Yeah,
well, that is very shocking, but I guess that probably I'm going to share that too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, the religious and cultural destructions, that was something that I expected that was coming because that came with Syrian Christians, you know,
Mm,
and I was looking at that, but thinking of the minorities, everyone is
mm,
not the same, really. So when um so in terms of the Syrian defense forces, who trained them mainly?
who?
Yeah, like who trained these people? Like Turkey?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I'm not
yeah,
really
exactly.
surprised
Yeah,
because Turkey
yeah.
supports
As far as I know, yeah, that yeah, Turkey supported them. Yeah, yeah,
that's a NATO ally.
yeah,
I mean, I'm very shocked, but it's
yeah, yeah.
because what you sent me, I have obviously seen many of the footages I saw, right?
Mm, mm,
And you know, I what what Zaid was saying was that Bedouin, Pete tribes, were not the problems with
mm,
with the Druze people, but
mm,
um this obviously jihadists and
mm,
the militias, as you say, as you call, they are aligned to make uh you know um some make the situation look like the Druze caused a problem.
Not the Druze who caused the problem.
The
As far.
catalyzed the
Mm,
situation, and that is the reason why the Syrian government entered to,
mm,
ease the situation. That was a story that, Al
mm,
Jawad made up.
mm,
And,
mm,
that was something that they were, and, you know, it's very sad to say, but,
mm,
in terms of radical atrocities like this, I do not believe that religion really does matter in a sense because
mm.
Soviet Union used to do this too, and they were brutal against about this. And see, they did those who believed in religion, and they did, include, a lot of Jewish people had to flee Soviet Union because of the atrocities against them.
Mm.
And it so I mean, but the real problem is that I really do not want to say that, well, I really do want the UN to take responsibility because
Yeah,
ultimately I want the UN to take responsibility for what October 7th was about as well.
exactly.
I mean, they
Exactly.
cannot say, well, that happened out of nowhere, all these things. I mean,
Mm.
because UNRWA, as that was a UN-backed aid sponsor that,
Mm.
funded Hamas.
Mm.
And Hamas, somehow taught uh, how to radicalize people and probably educate people,
Mm.
because I was looking at, the video on how to educate the Palestinian children to be the fighters.
Mm.
And that was from
Exactly.
And UNRWA is not different from Hamas. And I
Mm.
hope that, UN really takes responsibility for what they did, really.
Exactly. Exactly.
And don't get away with this. See,
Mm.
so for the same reason, I really expect the UN to take responsibility and do, just ease, not ease, but just tell Jolani to stop this because it's
Mm.
government, it's representing the UN
Mm.
right now.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
unbelievable. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
So, um, so what did exactly UN do? I need to read the report that they made probably, but when they went to Sueda.
Actually, they entered Sweden to know more the details for what's really happening there.
Mhm.
And as far as I know, that they faced many difficulties to enter Sweden by الجولاني group, as far as I know. So they entered Sweden to get more informations about what's really happening, and they had a translator to explain. So yeah, many Druze spoke about what's happening, like the criminals they did and the problems they have. So yeah, I think that the UN has all the informations about us right now. I think so. Yeah, yeah. So many Druze spoke about what exactly happened with them to the UN.
Well, I think that ICC really needs to start prosecuting, you know,
Mm, mm,
Al Jolani, they're not doing anything about it. And they prosecuted Netanyahu for some reason. I mean, I have no idea why he was prosecuted, why he's in the court. Well, yeah, why he's, like, I really do not understand what's going on with them. But
yeah.
um, so today a girl was killed, right? You said.
Who?
Today as a girl who tried to come to Sueda.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she was on her way to visit her family, or
I don't know what she wanted to do exactly, if she wants to visit her family,
hmm,
but she was coming to Sweden, so they killed her immediately, and they bombed the car. I
uh,
also have the photos, the footage. I share with you after when we finish. So yeah, yeah. Today she died. Her name is Nada Amir.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really sorry for her. And
yeah.
what I hear from, what I understand from what I hear is that, Israelis are going through the terrorist attacks that
Mm.
are not covered in the media. You know,
Yeah.
they are, facing terrorist attacks like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Just
Exactly. Exactly.
and I mean, it's so like, well, Al Qaeda is like still like cooperating. I mean,
Mm.
Al Jolani is Al Qaeda. So I mean,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So young people, I mean, of course, are killed. Like October 7th,
Mm.
and um, yeah, like a lot of young, well, doctors, those who are not supposed, those who are supposed to treat patients with, um I have to say, well, they're supposed to be treated like a third party, really,
Mm.
you know
Mm.
but they are killed because they are targeted, because they trade Druze, or because they are in the Druze area, or for many reasons they are killed. um so so I mean, there are so many cases of like, yeah, like, I guess, like Hassan Saraya, a U.S. citizen and resident of Oklahoma, was gunned down. Uh,
Exactly. And Dr. Firas Abultaif, we have also French Toulouse academic burned alive in his home. And we have Khalid Mizher executed with 20 family members.
20 family members.
Yeah.
Say,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. And we have children killed. We have Yaman Maqlad, Zaid Dalal, Jana Hlal, Uday, and Qusay Abu Ammar. Their ages like between 11 and 17. And we have Qurdab execution, like six members of one family, including three siblings, shot in front of their mother.
mhm.
And we have a Radwan guest house massacre in 15 July, like 13 civilians killed. And as I remember, also in it was in 15 July, they also we have Al Qurdab execution. These six members of one family, including three siblings, yeah, in the same time in 15 July with a Radwan guest house massacre.
So it's a guest house, and
Yeah,
these are just innocent people, right?
yeah, exactly, yeah. And they took many people from Radwan also.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, it's cruel. And
yeah.
I mean, I cannot describe how cruel, they are in words, but um, for some reason, I really believe that this idea, this radical ideology is at some point, grown in, Soviet Union like socialism environment, for some reason.
Mm,
Really.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's not like in a religious site, really.
Mm,
But
mm,
a religious site has different characters, but because of, the customs, rituals and everything. But in terms of radical Islam, you know, um, I I really I was talking with Dr. Anat Wilf about this. And it was about UNRWA because she's a researcher on UNRWA. But I once I asked her why um Gaza
Mm,
children's education is like, Nazi. I'm not
mm,
calling the children themselves Nazi, but the
mm,
education itself is like
mm,
Nazi style, which means
mm.
that in the end, they will grow up to be like the Nazi member and
Exactly. Mm,
capacity
mm,
in for them. And
mm,
this is something that I saw, those children that I saw were in the third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. That means they are in the fighter's age right now.
mm, mm,
So, I mean, I would feel very, very, you know, uh, I was angry and very, very depressed when I saw October 7th. It was not
mm,
just like I was sad, I was angry. I did not have words to say really
mm,
for
mm,
a long time. I talked to
mm.
my friends, but I did not have any words to say in public really. And but I am very surprised. Well, I am, um, almost certain that probably one day that there will be academists who will prove that, this Nazism unpunished in the Middle East are doing bad
Mm.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and fortunately, in Europe, it was liberated, by the United States. So So now the European continent is different, but in the Middle East, the Nazi ideology has not been punished.
Mm,
That was something that, I was stunned to hear. And
mm,
also, it's not something I can say, oh, okay, and I understand it. When you see like your people burned like that, and do you just well, you would not say, oh, that happened, right? I
mm,
mean,
mm,
that was something unacceptable. And more than that, you are furious. And probably you will not have, enough words to say, really.
mm.
So, I mean, and, see, and this is happening in your country. And also, like, yeah, now there are all names of the people, who are recovered from the atrocities that can be proven, how they were killed. And actually I was like, well, they what the Druze man was saying was that they took the government a phone
Mm.
and found what they did.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know why, but they think that that was justice, right?
Mm.
Like, no. And I, yeah, so the 30th of July, there, there were killings in, this is the
Yeah.
hospitals, Sueda massacre, July, because I'm looking at like page 41 because this seems to be like a hospital, those children being treated, and there are full photos of them, and they were killed on July 30th, between
Yeah.
July.
We have 1,017 killed, like 372 names officially documented.
Mhm,
And we have around 700 abducted, including at least 130 women and children,
mhm.
and over 100 US citizens or permanent residents and several European nationals trapped in Sweden. and we have tens of thousands displaced with no electricity, no water, or medical care. So the violence clearly aimed to erase the Druze presence, similar to earlier massacres of Alawites and Christians in Syria.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, so yeah, before I think this major siege started, Alawites were killed. And is
yeah,
it because
in
of
the coast.
Bashar Assad that,
Mm.
Al-Jolani was retaliating or something? Or was it just because of this, simple violence that he had in mind?
Yes, as he said, like Ahmad al-Shara, what he said, like we killed the Alawites because many of them are like with Bashar al-Assad, so they need to be
Ah,
killed. Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I
yeah,
thought.
yeah. And for me, I find that even if they are with Bashar al-Assad, they deserve to live, you see? Like I don't have the rights to kill someone.
Hmm.
Even if he is with Bashar al-Assad, it's his own mentality.
Hmm.
I don't care. So who do you think you are to kill them? Like until now, they are burning they are burning the coast in Latakia and Tartus. Yeah. And they still kidnapping the woman as slaves, sex slaves, as we said with the Rus, the same problem.
Yeah, it's very, it's very hard, heartbreaking, really.
Of course, no one could accept it. It's really catastrophic.
Yeah, I mean, this is very systematic, and I can tell that this is something that, probably they learned from Hamas too, you know.
The same mentality. There's no difference. This the same mentality, the
But
same ideology also. Yeah.
same ideology, but there is a proof that Hamas was
Mm,
present in Syria
mm, mm,
to coordinate with Al-Jolani
mm, mm, mm.
forces.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe that they were, somehow coordinating, but I think that it was majorly Hamas that
Mm,
taught the method. And this all comes from this Islamic Republic, the activists, this
exactly.
terrible,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
terrible thing that, terrible, yeah, like it's, I mean, it's really, really bad that, what they're doing, but they keep attacking like with weapons
Yeah.
now, right?
Exactly. Until now. Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Until now. Yeah. Yeah. At the
So,
beginning, they said, okay, we will stop
mhm,
and you will stop. So the Druze stopped. They didn't do anything, but the, the militias of the Syrian government, they didn't stop weapon, you see,
mhm.
until now. Yeah.
It's um yeah, it's very, very well, probably the Japanese media would say, the situation in Syria has been radicalized, only that
Yeah.
part. And for some reason they have a lot of time to talk about, the situation in Gaza. But I'm not comparing it and talking about Gaza right now with you because the situation in Sueda is very, very serious. And,
Mm, mm,
it's something that you are very concerned about. And
mm, mm.
so, I mean, how is the medical equipment going through right now exactly? I mean, probably the food aid is going through, the fastest is through probably Israel,
Mm.
but is medical aid going from the UN?
I think I have no idea about it.
Uh,
I know just that about the food from Israel,
yeah.
but the medical equipment, as far as I know, the last video I shared on my profile, he said we have no medical equipment, and maybe until now they don't have. I didn't get the news about it, so I don't think that they get the medical equipment until now, because I have no video or any evidence about it. You see?
Yeah,
Yeah, because the last video I shared, it was for a doctor who
mm,
were in the hospital. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but Russia is
Mm,
probably supporting Al-Jolani because
mm,
they went, I think the representatives went to Russia to do
mm,
business. And so probably what would happen is that China and Russia, in the UN, they would probably be in favor of Al-Jolani. And the only nation that would vote against them will probably be the United States for sure. And so,
mm.
I mean, this is a very difficult situation, but that's how, Russia and China must be beaten. And I think that, for, it's a time that well, Russia needs to come conclusion that they cannot take over the entire Ukraine, and for the same reason, Al-Jolani cannot take over the entire Syria. For the same reason,
Yeah,
they cannot take over. He may, well, he had a chance to govern, but he lost it already. This is
exactly.
he cannot, this is not a civil government, and
Mm,
if we do believe in democracy, then we are not supposed to support any kind of that behavior.
exactly. 100%.
And also, even murdering one person, that is unacceptable, but this is a mass murder of people, and it's completely just insane to even support him or say, we can, at some point deal with it. No, we cannot deal with. Okay, we cannot deal with Hamas for the same reason.
Exactly. Of course. Of course.
I mean, I do not believe that, Hamas can be dealt with because they are going to do the same thing probably 10 years later. And,
Mm, mm,
what I would expect is that, Al Jolani is going to do something worse in the future.
mm,
So that's what, Syrian people, a lot of minorities tried to cooperate, they cooperated already,
yeah.
but what they were forced to say is that, well, we're Druze or, we're Christians, and then, they were shot to death. I mean, and also, what I see from what, people, the Druze, how the Druze were killed. They were mutilated, they were burned alive, they were, raped, systematically because they were Druze, you know,
Mm,
because
mm,
Yazidi women, they were, raped, they were burned, because
mm,
they were Yazidis, and they think that they can get away with it. But they eventually will end up facing the crimes they committed. I'm sure they will. And but the disappointing part is that this uh uh I have to say, like, this medical unit, you know, that could be coordinating with the militias. And that is something very scary about the area
mm,
that, is in Gaza, or, for
mm,
the same reason in
mm,
Sueda, I think, really. Because, they could, they could be the one, who could kidnap people, or, and sadly, medical, I have known, a lot of medical doctors, and they are supposed to treat people regardless of religion, regardless of, any creeds, because they are the doctors. But, but for some reason, this medical staffs are sometimes coordinated with Hamas, you know, in in um in Gaza. And
yeah,
a lot of the video footage that, is shared by the media is actually shared, well, it obviously shows that, Hamas members have coordinated. It just never says who. But, for the same reason, the scary part of what is happening in this, world is that, the medical staff could be coordinating, providing names of the patients. That could be one of the reasons why all the names are leaking. Because it's very strange that, only the social media is the source of the information, as it
mm,
cannot be the source of the information at all
mm,
times, because people could hide,
yeah,
block the information now. So obviously they have uh, material information at
mm,
hand, and for they compare the information, and they compare who they are.
mm,
Say, like, for example, I know where you live, something like
mm,
that.
yeah,
Because sometimes I guess I it seems that jihadists sadly say that not necessarily in Syria, but some jihadists in European countries threaten, the Syrians, and that's
mm,
one of the reasons why I guess many of the Druze whom I speak to, they are scared of the current Syrian government, recognized as the government, allowed to issue passports, because they can have, the intelligence or collaborators can have
yeah,
passport and murder people.
mm,
That is happening in some parts of the world, and that is happening to the Chinese people who fled the country.
mm,
So, I mean, now I think that, it has reached at some point that, actually two nations, who have supported non-religion and violence, which are Russia and China, they, are on the verge of, I guess, they are on the verge of being forced to change at some point.
yeah,
Otherwise, there is no choice, because now 1 million, more than 1 million people have died in the
yeah,
war in Ukraine. It's
yeah,
crazy.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
And it's not just Russian soldiers, but those who were deployed from Russia, they are from from Ukraine. They were born in Ukraine, have gone to Russia, became Russian citizen, and they were deployed to go to Ukraine. And and this is August 15th, and this is something irrelevant to you, but today is the day most of the Japanese think that um, you know, the Japan accepted Potsdam Declaration. Like it's not that this day, but they heard that Japan has lost the war. But a lot of people had already known that Japan was on the verge of losing, but it was I guess in a way a relief for people that now they don't have to think of the war.
mm,
But I think that, a lot of people have to think of the war now
mm,
because of the wrongdoing of the past of Japan. And
mm,
at the same time, I do not believe that the Japanese people do think of themselves in the same way as the media do, really, in a sense, which is, we were the only ones that were heard. And then, I have been reading so many articles, uh, you know, Soviet Union, well, they took about like 30,000, soldiers, civilians to the Soviet Union, did forced labor, executed, some came back. I have known some people who have come back, but I
mm,
do not want to equate Soviet Union with the United States or UK or the other allied nations, even though, the Japanese soldiers ended up being hungry after World War II.
yeah, yeah,
You know, it's very, it's very strange that I tell you this, but I hope that you understand some situation in Japan too. But
yeah, of course.
I, against French allies too, or
Mm,
those who fought for the freedom of Europe, even Italians. I have known some people who have fought against the Nazi allies, even though they were, the Nazi ally, the nation.
mm,
But but um But it's very disappointing that the media equates the allied nations like the United States that supported massively towards the democratization of Japan. And, like the British soldiers, the Dutch soldiers, I am very sorry for the fact that, those people were cruelly executed by the Japanese soldiers. You know what?
mm,
Those people who do not understand, they believe, those people, who believe that, Japanese people were only tortured after the war, like the Soviet Union. It's different.
mm,
The situation is completely different. They, massively, you know, starved,
mm,
executed. I'm sorry to say this, but this is the fact with the
mm,
Allies, really. Against the Japanese against the Allies, but against Soviet Union. I'm sorry to say this. They are irrelevant to Japan. We had peace treaties, but they broke it because they wanted the northern part territory. And we had some credits towards Gorbachev because he was the one who said something like, well, we are going to start diplomatic relationship and diplomatic um, transactions toward regarding the northern territory of the occupied, now we use it, area, then Putin. I mean, we found it impossible. We probably Japan is never going to get those territory back from Putin for sure.
yeah, mm,
As long as he lives, and probably in the next 100 years.
mm.
That was proven after 2022. You know,
Mm,
but But we should not, because my grandparents had to face the Soviet soldiers. They were not soldiers, but they were different. They were not like Americans. They were
mm,
not Americans. They were not from Europe. They were not like Europeans. They were
mm,
totally different. My grandmother had, a lot of people coming from European countries. She had treated them before the war. She did not have any problem with them. You know, I just they were both so angry, disappointed at what happened, when the war broke out. And as a result, of course, a lot of people would die
mm,
because Japan was going to lose for sure.
mm, mm,
That
mm,
was the thing that we knew from the start. And this is the war, that we knew that we would lost was started. And then, Japan lost against the war. And I hope that, a lot of the young generations who do not know about the Soviet occupations, equate, the, you see, the U.S., we use the term in terms of Okinawa, the U.S. occupied,
mm,
Okinawa, and Okinawa was a part of the United States, but it was not like Soviet Union. And fortunately, we lost against the United States. That's why we did not become like North Korea.
mm, mm,
Some parts of, you know, uh, the countries or parts of the world that were, occupied by the Soviet Union. And
mm,
I really hope, if I were to hope on October 7th, not, no, on August 15th, I would say that, a lot of, areas, including Syria, are free from the Soviet, influence. Because I obviously had seen so much Soviet influence during Bashar al-Assad.
mm,
Russian Air Force, they were ruthless against the civilians.
mm.
I mean, you know, I mean, you know, in the end, they learn. I hope they learn that they 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 lose
Mm.
in ideology.
Exactly. Exactly.
They
Yeah.
don't have to lose by force, but
Mm, mm,
they, I hope that China also reaches the same conclusion before they do something very wrong,
mm. Yeah.
really. And I really I see a lot of disappointing articles, news narratives, which is I tell you this because a lot of news articles say something like Japan went through such bombings, like terrible bombings, and it's almost like the bombings in Gaza.
Mm.
See, I mean, the situation is different. And
Yeah.
also, the Air Force, the information that they get, the Japanese media are getting, they are from Hamas affiliated media. So
Mm,
they are about the same as like, Bashar al-Assad media.
mm. Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
we,
Exactly.
we should not be trusting that media. Well, I mean, see, it was good that you told me, some stories of the guest houses, the names of the people, because see, I just heard from one person. It sounds that way. So, now, people who listen to the episodes consecutively will be able to hear the names and also follow the timelines and other topics of what is happening in Sueda. And
Mm,
it's to many Israeli people who don't have cousins or brothers, sisters, you know, they say, well, they are the brothers,
Yeah.
Israelis. Then they, yeah, a lot of people think that, a lot of Israelis believe that, they have international, well, they have rights to protect, they have international rights to protect Druze, really, you know, the only nation that is eligible to do it right now.
Mm,
And
exactly.
I hope that, a lot of nations do understand that part. And also at the same time, I hope that, a lot of people understand that Israelis are the minorities of the world, same as the Druze. And, we cannot, ignore and say, well, minorities might be minorities, but, we could be the same. We are different, really, but,
Mm,
we have to accept each other.
of
And that's
course.
the most important part, as you say, right?
Mm,
I mean,
mm,
otherwise, in Syria, it is really going to be very difficult to, form a nation, in some way. And, I hope that, in the future, for people, I hope that there is some stability in the nation and the leadership, and also, for everyone. So, I mean, and also, see, um, well, see, like, well, Japan was not exactly Soviet Union. Well, what
mm,
was, about that, the major difference is that, Soviet Union banned all the religions. And that's the real major difference. But, Hamas is like banning the religion, really, from people. And for the same reason, Al-Jolani is
mm,
banning uh,
mm,
all the religions, including, I think, including the moderate Muslims. Probably he's going to kill all these people too. So I hope that before, he reaches other nations like Israel, which is a very
mm,
tiny country, now
exactly.
I think
Mm,
Druze are, stopping, other ethnic groups from being massacred
mm,
the same way right now.
mm, mm,
But I hope that this is not gonna last, and
mm,
there is not gonna be a second, as major, like October 7th, like attack, like in Sueda, really, so that we don't want to see that. And there is already a massacre happening there, and I don't exactly understand why ICC is, which is supposed to, act against the criminal or not against the criminal, they're not doing
mm,
anything against Al-Jolani at all. They did not do anything against Bashar al-Assad. you know, I mean, the system, has to change. And, that's one of the reasons why, the United States is not a member of the country. And,
mm,
not because of the war crimes, but, it's not exactly effective. And I
mm,
really hope that, this is probably in the UN too. I believe that the United States will I believe that it will. Secretary Rubio is going to act against Russia and China, so that they will not be able to dominate the decision against Syria. I believe that way.
yeah.
I believe that it's going to happen. And um, yeah, I really have really huge credits for Secretary Rubio, and I believe that he's going to make the right decision for this. But
Yeah.
I would like to know what is happening in what has happened or what happened in the education,
Mm,
or I would like to know, like the educational policies of,
mm,
in Damascus. And
mm.
so what happened after the siege? The Druze, students were denied, as you
Exactly.
say.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that, it's probably about time. And
Yeah.
I really have to say, I really appreciate you for listening to,
Thank you. It's
August
an honor to
15th.
me. It's an honor to me to be with your podcast and to share our thoughts and to talk about the truth for what's happening in Sweden and even in Japan. I really would like to know all these details. I'm really so interested. But before we finish, I would like to say the demands from the Druze community and immediate humanitarian access for food, water, and medicine, as I said before. And of course, the main thing we wanted, and I said it for thousands of times, like we want an international protection and um, targeted sanctions against al-Jolani regime official, accountability and reparations from the Syrian government, and emergency medical teams funded and deployed. So yeah. And the final message, this is not a local tribal conflict. It is a coordinated campaign of ethnic cleansing, as we said before. The Druze, like other minorities in Syria, want only to live in peace on their ancestral lands, And the Druze community in Syria has faced persecution for over 50 years. This long history of marginalization has made survival extremely difficult, especially in rural areas. Currently, agriculture is a major challenge in Sweden. Local farmers cannot use tractors or modern machine because of restrictions, making food protection very hard for them. So the Druze community calls on Japan and other countries for economic support, especially to help with agriculture and farming so they can feed themselves and maintain their lands despite these restrictions. So
Yeah.
silence is no longer an option. Help us to survive.
Well, especially, regarding economic sanctions,
Yeah.
I think that Japan will be able to facilitate, the flow
Mm,
of, the support into, the funding into the Druze community. I believe that is a very, realistic, support that they are probably going to be able to do, as a primary, goal. And,
mm.
by coordinating with Israel, they are going to be able to do much more, you know,
Yeah, I hope. Yeah,
material support,
yeah, yeah.
because, Israel is going to be able to support, more, by
Mm,
coordinating with Japan because,
mm.
yeah, Japan and Israel has had a very close history. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, but thank you very much for coming to my
Thank you so much.
podcast, and I hope that you come back again to talk about other topics and
Of
also
course.
the ongoing situation in
Yeah,
the Druze community, other minorities in Syria, you know.
of course,
Yeah.
with pleasure.
But thank
Mhm.
you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, have a nice day. Have a nice
You
evening.
too.
Thank
You too.
So I do not, well, the very nation that understands the situation of the Druze, okay? That is Israel. The Israelis are explaining the situations, not just the Druze in Israel, but Israelis overall, who understands uh, the war, or I have to say the conflicts in the Middle East. They are talking about the Druze and the Al Jolani's cruelty, the systematic murder. This is systematic, deliberate, well organized. And I do not understand the world ignoring it. And I must say, the United Nations must condemn, not just condemn, but find solutions for the Druze to live. Okay, they are on the verge of death, and I do not believe that it's the right thing that we can witness. And I'm sorry. I will add subtitles in French, Arabic, and Hebrew, okay, about this podcast and Dr. Annette Wells' podcast. You can listen to Zaid's episode mostly in Arabic, and I asked him to speak the most. So please listen and compare. And also, back in January, I have to say that I invited a Syrian researcher, a very famous Syrian researcher. He has retired. He talked about the collapse of Bashar Assad's regime. And, well, if you want to listen to his episode, you're free to listen to it. But please listen to Dr. Annette Wells' episode, because she's talking about Nazism in the Middle East. And this must never be tolerated. Okay? In any language. French, Arabic, Hebrew, English, whatever language. So, thank you very much for listening, and I hope that I come back soon.